Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, sorry I'm a little bit delayed compared to normal. I had a server crash last night. I didn't discover it till about 4:45 this morning, and I just had a little bit of delay. Well, the atmosphere doesn't really care that I had a delay. It's going to continue to go on, and this animation you're watching here shows you just the depth of the low sitting right off of the Oregon-California border right now. I mean, this is something incredible right here. We've just been treated to some pretty amazing satellite imagery over the last few days of what these lows have looked like coming down the west coast. And again, this is last night right up to about sunset. Now, as this system came through, it did produce some extremely heavy snow again in parts of the Sierra Nevada. And we just look back over the last 3 days of total snowfall. We can see that some places here added another 18 to 24 inches of snow. And of course, because the low is still sitting here, we're looking at more as we work our way down through the Rockies. Now, to broaden this view and give you a kind of a rest of the United States perspective, so the sun's rising right in through here, I just got to take you back yesterday, and I want to show you some neat things. You also saw on that previous map that we did have the snow that was sitting right here in parts of Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, stretching into Iowa. Well, that has since melted. You can see what's left of it right here, but it's kind of fun to watch throughout the day as the heat kind of comes through and the strong March sun really works on that snow. Now, we're setting this whole environment up for a pretty substantial severe weather event that's going to happen in the Midwest, but I just want to let you know that the pattern we're about to go through, or the pattern we're in right now, is going to be just continuing through the next probably 10 to 15 days. And one of the things I'm concerned about is we already have a lot of snow on the ground. You can see it here in the satellite animation. The clouds move over the top of the snow, and what we're concerned about is how much more we're going to be adding into this area as we press forward here. Now, this is going to be an interesting year to think back on, and one of the main pieces I cover in today's report is just where we currently sit with snow as we approach the end of March. And this map is one of the highlighted maps, which just shows you season-to-date accumulated snowfall departure compared to average. And I kind of just remarked in the report that it's going to be one of those winters where some people remember it as one of the snowiest winters on record. I mean, we have some places here in the Sierra Nevada that have an extra, compared to average, an extra 200 to 240 inches of snow. You know, the Upper Colorado Basin still sitting at 140% of snowpack compared to normal. And then as you stretch in through parts of the upper Midwest and the plains, getting into the Great Lakes, this corridor, which is going to get more snow, is already sitting some places with up to 4 feet of more snow than normal. And then you go south of there, and people are going to talk about this being a winter that just had nothing. Same thing for parts of New England and coastal New England. So this was an interesting winter to kind of just keep an eye on. Well, the next system we have to spend time talking about is right here. And I've got you up at jet stream level winds, and this is what we would call a classic setup. By Friday, this shortwave ejects out of the Rocky Mountains, and it makes a pretty hard turn with a jet streak here and another jet streak running over the top of the ridge. And given the curvature of this system right in through here, this is going to support rapid low pressure development right here, most likely somewhere in Iowa. And as that deepens, there's nothing in the way of this just drawing a tremendous amount of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. If I just step down there and show you the surface winds, but also pull into this the total precipitable water, I think the only question that many of us have is how far to the north are we able to pull the high dew point temperatures to really aid in the destabilization of the atmosphere and also provide the energy for some of these storms. But there's certainly going to be a lot of very dry air on the backside of that. In fact, right now we already have high wind warnings, high wind advisories, red flag warnings out for this area. We're going to continue to see these expand. We'll watch out for high wind watches across this entire cyclone as it goes forward. But remember, today it's still sitting here. So California's got the winter storm warnings. There's the winter weather advisories in Nevada, Utah, getting up into Idaho and Montana. And all of this has, in this shade here, the wind advisory. We have cold air out ahead of this, but this is going to be quickly replaced. This morning here is just looking at a frost advisory that's out for parts of Arkansas through Tennessee and northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama. So that's all going to change very, very quickly. Now on Thursday, we will watch from the Red River Valley into eastern Kansas for the risk of strong to severe storms. And just as a low begins to form, this will be up here in what we call the Triple Point area in Nebraska. We'll keep an eye out for those strong to severe storms. But the day 3 size of the enhanced risk right now, which remember, the Storm Prediction Center has been outlining this area now already for 3 days. So we're going to watch this area for the potential for leading supercell development, followed by what could be a pretty large QLCS. That's a big, long squall line that rips through this area. So all hazards are present here, hail, wind, tornadoes, and it just is setting itself up to be impacting a lot of people with strong to severe storms when we get into the day on Friday. Now, the high-res NAM model reaches out close to that time period. So let's just play this forward starting at 8 a.m. here on Wednesday. We can see one little clipper rolling through Ontario. It's front dropping some snow here, maybe like around London, Ontario, and then over the eastern Great Lakes. And while that system exits and high pressure builds in behind it, that's the high you got to watch, because this high is going to go from here to there. And that's what's going to set up the return flow out of the Gulf. And what it's going to be returning flow into is this low here. So by this afternoon and this evening, we're watching that coastal low. It's right here, just off the coast of San Francisco. Continues to pull farther into the south. And then now the broader trough that was a part of begins to make its kind of, way through the Rocky Mountains. So as we get into Thursday evening, is there the chance for some ice in this area? Possibly. There's going to be some overrunning. Remember that high slid right over here, opens this all up. This is Thursday evening. So we're going to keep an eye out on this whole corridor for some strong to severe storms. But notice the snow on the northern side of this, from Idaho and Montana through North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and that's all going to change over later to snow as we get into Friday morning, into Friday midday. Now, the high-res NAM runs out 60 hours, so it stops here, but we can already see the heavy snows expected on the backside of this. All right. Now, it'll be Friday afternoon, evening, and overnight hours that we're going to watch this whole corridor for the strong to severe storms. But I just want to make a point about what you just saw and what I'm expecting with the subsequent storms. And that is this. I talked about it earlier this week. This map looks at the last 30 days. Your eyes can pretty quickly identify those places that have been much wetter than average and much drier than average. And what I want to show you is the next 15 days. So these are precipitation anomalies from the European model. You can almost see how it's just a copy of this with just different colors. And that's what we're expecting. This pattern is on repeat for the next at least 10 plus days. So if we talk about the snow side of this first, this is the next 10 days looking at the probability of getting at least 3 inches of snow. So that's why we were talking about, we still got 100 inches of liquid in the Sierra Nevada. We've seen how much snows throughout the west, and then now we're going to add more to this corridor. Here's the chance of getting 6 inches. Here's the chance of 12, 18, 24, 36. So just notice how much more we're still talking about here for the Western Mountains. To show you this, it's great to see that both the GFS and the European are kind of in lockstep. What I mean by that is, just watch, I'll play you 10 days quickly. If you blur your eyes and just look at these two images, you see that they both are picking up on the same 3 next storm systems, almost with almost identical timing. So we've already seen through Wednesday. Let's park this out there on Friday evening. That's the time frame I want to pick up on. Both models have the front slicing through western Illinois. See it right there, coming out of Iowa, heading into Missouri. This will be the time period where we're watching for the severe storms in this area. You see the snow on the back side. Now both models almost in agreement on the position of that snow. So going into Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and evening, that system pulls through New England. Large warm sector keeps most of New England in the rain mode here. A little bit of snow on the backside, but deep in the interior. So we're going to have to give our attention now back to the west on Sunday. The next coastal low comes in. Could see some storms out ahead of it on Monday, Sunday night into Monday down here in the lower Mississippi River Valley. I know you don't see them in the GFS, but trust me, they'll be there given this setup. And then we're going to watch next Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday, the next big system come out. So let's watch that again. This is Monday morning, Monday afternoon and evening, Tuesday into Wednesday. So that is the next system to keep an eye on, and you can see what follows it right here. So this pattern is going to be on repeat. Talk about snow, just give you some operational model runs. I'm going to play this out to a full week and show you what the European model is predicting here. And so now you see why I say that those areas that have just received so much snow, we're going to continue to see more of it. And there is some good agreement between that and the GFS. So European model, GFS on total snowfall for the next 7 days. On the precipitation side of it, this is the probability over the next 10 days of getting at least 1 inch. And here's the chances of getting 2 inches. and the chances of getting 4. So we see that the places that have been extremely wet, that's why we went back to this slide, show up again as having those same high probabilities. And unfortunately, the areas that have been dry just continue to show the same pattern. The Canadian Prairie, the Western and Southern Plains, parts of the Gulf Coast up to the East Coast. Those are the areas that we see showing up drier in this forecast. The temperature side is very similar as well. Over the next 7 days, everywhere in gray is where we expect to have a frost. Now remember, there's going to be some pretty rapid temperature change coming in here. But we notice that the models kind of kept on the same forecast trends that they had been on. We slide through the next 10 days here, and we can see the split. And this is why the storms are going this way. That's it. I mean, it's just got to go south of the cold, north of the warm. That's where the jet stream will live. And so we just play this out, and we continue to see that past, the 11th, 12th, 13th. We expect change. We expect this to get out, but we still have half of April to go through before we really see a significant pattern change. Last thing I want to talk about is South America. Finally, a break for the severe weather and the heavy rains in Argentina. And the latest trends throughout Brazil are now less dry. So they were less drier in the newest forecast models than they were in the previous. So we'll just continue to watch that. But right now, I don't have any major concerns about the safrinha crop in Brazil. So I'll wrap it up there, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.